On today's show, we got a lot to go over. Daytona 500, we got the open mic tonight, and I'm going to take you back in the day. So if you guys are ready, roll that beautiful intro. What's up, everybody? J-Hat Drummer 1976 here. Got a lot to go over. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday I was pretty busy with work and everything, so I really couldn't do much. So today I thought I would go over a few things. Open mic is tonight for me. Gonna try and get another video up if I can. But the way the video has been coming out, it hasn't been really good. Was able to get that one, but again, sound was just bad. Let's take a look. See, open mic where he's talked about that review, the Daytona 500, and what a race it was. Not a lot of wrecks. It was a pretty clean race. I'll admit there was one big race that took out about, I think, 5, maybe 6 cars in the thing, but it was also a great race for Danica Patrick. Starting in on the pole, I really thought she was going to get top 5. I really did. Down the stretch, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was actually pushing her. He was in back of her, and he was pushing her, and I was like, "Come on, Junior, push her!" And turns out there was a wreck, like on the last lap. They let it go. Because normally when they have a yellow with like 1 lap to go, usually they do like an overtime type of thing, where it's called green white checker, I think it's called, or yellow green checker, whatever. But anyway, turns out she ended up in 8th because of that wreck. And so yeah, man, it really looked like Junior was going to push her maybe to second, but a lot of the drivers said it was a tough time to get around the track. Like, you know, they wanted to go down, but Danica really didn't want to, because she knew that if I stay in 3rd, that's good enough for me. But all the drivers were, they really didn't want to pass. They really did not want to pass, especially, Daytona, because it's got those banks, man. They're like this. And when you get on that turn, man, and it's like this, man, that is like the ultimate decision. Do I pass with like maybe a few laps to go, or do I, I mean, it's just one of those things, man. I mean, it was a tough decision for not only Junior, but for Danica. Well, the winner ended up becoming Jimmie Johnson, and Jimmie Johnson got the Daytona 500 win. So congrats to him and his teammates. Also, Danica coming in 8th and Junior coming in 2nd, which was pretty cool. So yeah, man, Tony Stewart ended up getting wrecked, and thank God for duct tape. You know what I mean? Because he duct taped most of his car, got it back on the track just to get some points. And but yeah, man, what a race! I was at a bar, and they had this big spread of food and everything, and I think I'm like a lot of people, man. You go into a bar and there's free food, you take advantage. You take advantage of it. Gotta be eaten. Come on, man. Anyway, so that was the Daytona 500. So today, since we got all of that out of the way, and by the way, I got a schedule of, because I can't come on here and not have a schedule of what I'm going to talk about. So another edition of Back in the Day, and we talked about video games. And most of the back in the day stuff was about video games. we talked about the platforms that I used to have, and but I want to take you guys. And one day I was walking around town, and something actually hit me where I have a cousin. Not all the time that I get to visit him, because we were both going to school, and he didn't live that far away from me, actually, just down the road, because I lived out in the country for like a long time, and he actually just lived down the road from me. Did not know it till I was a little older. I was about 9, maybe 10, and I was actually got to spend the night at his house, which was the reason why I'm bringing this up. The first time that I actually got to play a Nintendo. This is the reason for this back in the day. I got to, like I said, spend the night at his house, but it was the way I got to spend the night at his house. My mom actually got to go to a reunion for my aunt, and we were there, and it got into the late night, not late night, but just like in the night hours and stuff. And my brother wanted to spend the night with his cousin, and I was like, yeah, I want to spend the night too. And he was like, and he was against it. He was like, no, I want to spend the night with him, And my aunt said, well, I can only allow one. I can only allow one tonight, so because we had this long party, and I really don't feel like having a mess full of kids. So I was kind of upset about it, but then so I don't know, weeks go by, and I get to see him again. One of the things that my mom used to do was she used to take us, my cousins used to come over at like 6 in the morning so they could get on the bus and go to school, because their mom had to work early hours. So we're there, and I actually stop her, and I was like, hey, is there any chance I could spend the night? She's like, we'll see. So, I'm like, I'm digging this now. And I was like, okay, she'll think about it. Cool. So, a couple weeks go by, and I see her again, and I said, and we actually got to go to her, well, I actually called her. And I was like, hey, is there a possibility I could spend the night, because it was a Friday night. I was like, is there any chance I could spend the night? And I bugged her to death over this, and she gave in. She's like, yeah, you can spend the night. Well, my cousin didn't like the fact that I was going to spend the night, because my brother did. Because my cousin and my brother ended up becoming, good, kind of friends, and that he didn't know nothing about me, and her mom basically said, this is your cousin. You're gonna be nice to him. You're gonna be nice to him like all the others. So when he comes over, you be a nice person. And he was like, all right. Well, I didn't know that. So so I go over there, and he's like, and he was trying to be nice, and he was just like, you want to go downstairs? And I was like, yeah, sure. So we go downstairs, and he had a pool table down there. And I was like, let's shoot some pool. And he was like, all right. So we ended up shooting pool, and it turns out that I was a good, he found out I was a good, pool player. And he was like, and then I look over, and he's got a Nintendo. I'm like, you got a Nintendo? And he's like, yeah. I was like, let's play it. And he was like, all right. So go over there, and he says, well, I got one game on here I really can't play. And I was like, well, what's the problem? and he said, "Well, the you know, it was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out." He says, "Well, the game gets to a certain point and then it freezes." Now, anybody knows that when your game freezes, especially in Nintendo, what do? And I'll tell you what I did. So I said, "Let me look at the cartridge." And he was like, "All right." I'm looking at the cartridge. Now I notice that the cartridge kind of looks like my my old Atari. I mean, yeah, the cartridge is bigger than the Atari cartridges, but it's got that little slot at the bottom of it. It's got the little thing there. So I just kind of look at it and I'm like, and he goes, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Don't worry, I do this to my Atari games." So I said, "Okay, put it back in. Shut the door. Now play it." And he played it. He got to the point again where it freezes, and it didn't freeze anymore. And he was like, "How did you do that?" And I was like, I just blew on it, man. I was like, "Come on, man. Like, you didn't know that?" Like, he's like, "I didn't know how to, do all that stuff." I was like, "Hey, you just blow on it. If it reset, if it starts to, if the light, And again, I didn't have a Nintendo, and I knew what to do, just stuff like that, man. And we ended up becoming friends over the years, and I'll tell you that night. Oh man. And after that, and it was about, I don't know, 11 o'clock when this went down, and we ended up playing all of his Nintendo games. We played Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, then we got tired of it, and then we played Ghostbusters. And the Ghostbusters game was actually pretty cool. I'll admit, man, the first time I got to play that, I was like, "Dude, you got Ghostbusters?" And he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Sweet, let's play it." So we ended up playing it. What other games did he... Oh, Karate Kid. He had the Karate Kid. Don't laugh at the Karate Kid. Some of you had that game. Some of you guys played that game. Sweep the leg. That's all I gotta say. So, yeah, man. Got to play that, and, we didn't go to bed till like 3 in the morning. I mean, you want to talk about one of the times I actually stayed up all night. Not all night, but 3 in the morning. I mean, geez, we were up. And then we ended up going to the kitchen and getting some, we ended up making Kool-Aid. We ended up making Kool-Aid, dude. And we ended up making cheese sandwiches. Pretty cool, huh? We were up at midnight, dude, and we were just like making sandwiches, His mom was still up, but we were like, "We're just gonna make some sandwiches," and she was like, "All right." Making grilled cheese sandwiches, man, and Kool-Aid. I miss my childhood so much. It's just thinking about that, man. And my cousin really didn't know nothing about me. I mean, he thought I was just, just this, like, dweeb, I guess is a better word. As an 80s word, dweeb. Because he thought I was a dweeb and he didn't think I was, cool or anything, but I fixed his Nintendo. I think that's pretty cool. And, you got that friend or you got that relative that doesn't know nothing about you until they actually, you spend the night with them, and he had a collection of Star Wars stuff. I was pretty into Star Wars as a kid, and also when the next day we ended up watching like all the cartoons that we could choke down, man. Man, what did we watch? Oh man, I mean, all the Saturday morning cartoons in the 80s, man, were just totally badass. So yeah, man. But I just wanted to give you guys that is the first time I got to play Nintendo, by the way. So yeah, So there you go. Another back in the day moment. And this was like, I was about 10 or 11 when this went down. Like 86, 87, somewhere around in there. Like I said, most of my memories come from when I was 10, 11, 12 years old. So yeah, man. But wanted to let you guys know about that. Going to open mic tonight. Hopefully we have a good turnout. I have no clue where I'm going to put this thing. I really don't, because almost everywhere in that building. One thing you got to understand about the building I'm in is it is huge. It used to be an old bank, by the way. So when you watch it, the sound. I mean, they tried to drown the sound with these really big curtains and stuff on the windows, but I don't know, man. It just doesn't sound. It just doesn't sound right or whatever. But anyway, just wanted to let you guys a little glimpse into my first time playing Nintendo. And believe me, after that I was hooked. Because then in 1989, my brothers we got a Nintendo for Christmas. I was hooked after that, man. But 87, I was wanting to play Nintendo. And believe me, 91, I wanted to play Super NES. Oh man, I love reminiscing, believe me, and I want to know what you guys think. Oh, by the way, found out I got a second subscriber, so thank you very much. Thank you for subscribing, and I'm going to be making more videos. And by the way, I subscribed to you. I went ahead and just hit the subscribe button, and you have some pretty cool stuff, man. I want to just let you know about that. So anyway, man, that's going to do it for me. And you guys have a... I will be back on Monday. So, or maybe not. I don't know. Just whatever pops into my head again. You know, maybe I want to talk about. So, again, JHadDrummer1976. You guys have a great weekend. Go out there. I know it's still snowing here in Ohio, but you know what? I'm still going to go out and have a good time, because it is going to warm up. Spring's on the way. Can't wait. You guys have a good one. See you later.